Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another Toddy Walnuts collection overview video. And these two shelves in front of you are my Blue Underground Blu-rays and DVDs. These are in alphabetical order. It's been about 10 months since I did my last collection overview. This is more or less going to be a virtual response to our friend Johnnie Walker, who last week recorded a video of some of his favorite 3-disc sets in the Blue Underground catalog. So I wanted to not only record a video to kind of update my collection, but also to shout Johnnie out, and again to make you guys aware of his channel. I'm going to link his Blue Underground video down below so you can go check out his favorite 5 3-disc. I think he did 5 sets. And if you stick around to the end of this video, after I go through and show all the titles I have, I will take out all my 2 and 3 disc sets. I'm going to put them on my bed, and we're going to go more in depth to see what some of those editions have inside. So kick your feet up, get yourself a soda and a snack. Let's have a chill out night on Friday night, and let's get this started. Okay, so basically all we have is a full shelf here on top and a little bit here on the bottom, and then I have a couple more on the side there. So this shouldn't take too long to go through this. I'm not going to rush it, but again, stick around to the end and we're going to go through some of the 3-disc sets, like this one here, the first one. This is a Jess Franco 3-disc limited edition, which includes the notorious French version of 99 Women, Behind Bars Without Men. If you're getting into Jess Franco movies, you know that you're getting into a lot of sleaze. Very, very popular director in his day for just turning out sleaze movie after sleaze movie on like a shoestring budget, basically. I know he does have a cult following. So that first one is 99 Women. You will be seeing more of that at the end. The next one is the Blu-ray DVD combo pack of 1990, The Bronx Warriors, a film by Enzo Castellari. Fun kind of a post-apoc movie. It does have some extras there. You get some audio commentary, plus you get a little featurette with Castellari. Some really good stuff here. Very fun movies from the late 80s, I believe. Trying to see here if I can find it was released by Blue Underground in 2015, but I believe this was a late 80s sequel. Oh, it says 82, so it was early 80s for this one. Here's a film I really enjoyed. I flipped that cover. That is, I'll show you guys this one too at the end. I'll show you the reverse cover. This is a film by Dick Maas, filmed in the Netherlands, and this is Amsterdam, the Blu-ray DVD collector's edition. Let's take a better look at that cover. That's pretty sweet. There's a really cool boat scene where they're chasing each other through like a canal that goes through the city, and it was pretty intense, I have to admit. And I thought the killer looked pretty cool. He was wearing kind of like a scuba diving suit, like a wetsuit, and it's a very good underrated slasher movie. If you haven't checked it out, I definitely recommend it. Dick Maas's Amsterdam from, this is another early 80s, I believe, 88. Right there. The next one is probably one of the most disturbing movies I've ever seen. I keep leaning on this little shelf and it's moving. I apologize about that, but this is kind of another post-apocalyptic type movie. Maybe some of you have seen this one before. This particular edition here is out of print, and it's very hard to find. It's very pricey. It's about Bubby, who lives with his mother after what appears to be some kind of a nuclear war where they can't go outside. They have to wear like a breathing apparatus before they can even attempt to go outside. It's pretty bad. But this guy here has very unnatural relations with his mother, if you guys catch my drift. And it's a very, how do I put it? I felt like I really had to take a shower after I got done watching this. I mean, I just felt so gross. And I don't think I'll ever revisit this one. It's just a piece that's rare in my collection now, and I'm going to hold on to it since I have it. It's one of the cases where, you know, if I ever did sell it now, it'd probably be too much to ever try to get it back, so might as well just keep it, if that makes sense. But, oh, yeah, if anybody has seen this and you want to comment, let me know. I guess we'll just leave it at that, and we'll just keep moving on. Next one is an Argento classic. This is the bird with the crystal plumage. Classic Giallo. This is the unrated edition, and this was released by Blue Underground in 2009, a film from 1970 from Master Argento. Here is a Italian Western, A Bullet for the General. This is a 2-disc special edition starring John Maria Volante and Klaus Kinski. A pretty fun spaghetti western. Let's see here. It was put up in 2012. And this was definitely a late 60s. It says 1967 right there in the lower right. Fun watch, as was this next one. Another spaghetti western called Compañeros, starring the great Franco Nero and Tomas Milian. Has Jack Palance in it, filmed by Sergio Corbucci. So this is definitely one to add to your spaghetti western collection if you haven't seen it, or this is one maybe to even start a collection if you haven't started a collection yet. This would be a good starting piece right here. This is a good one. Blue Underground released it in 2014, and I know this is another late 60s. There was a big spaghetti western boom in like 66, 67, and 68. It seemed to be those 3 years where there was a big boom in the genre. So next one is George A. Romero's original, The Crazies. It's a very fun movie. Let's see at the top, it says it's a pandemic nightmare, kind of an apocalyptic type movie. I thought the remake was very good. I thought the remake might have been a little bit better. I know that's taboo when you're talking about Romero's movies, but just to keep it real on my channel, I thought the remake was it was a little grittier, it was a little gorier, had brutal kills. This one is a little tame in comparison to the remake. I'm not saying I don't like this one, because I do like it very much. I'm just saying that the remake was also very, very good. Okay, moving on to the next one. I had to go get a drink and wet the old whistle here. So we left off with the Cat O' Nine Tails, another Argento. They're calling it a real thrill ride. It's a good movie. It's not a great movie. It's not one of his better ones, but it's still a very solid watch, in my opinion. This is the unrated edition that was put out by Blue Underground in 2011. It was released in 1970. They kind of churned these movies out as well in the 60s and 70s. These movies, they usually had a very low budget, and they usually only filmed these movies in like a week to 10 days, sometimes 2 weeks, and then they would film a whole movie. So they were inexpensive at the time. Okay, next one here is a double bill with Christopher Lee and Klaus Kinski. And this is Circus of Fear and 5 Golden Dragons, and I still have to watch this one. I haven't seen either of the films. If you guys would like to comment, if perhaps maybe you've seen either of these films, just please no spoilers, that's all I ask. Let's see here. The Circus of Fear came out in 1966, and the 5 Golden Dragons came out in 67. It looks like these are both unrated. So moving on to a very good film. This is Fulci's City of the Living Dead. Also has one of the better covers you're going to see. I mean, that is just beautiful. The colors, the imagery, the darkness of that scene. That is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So Blue Underground released this in 2010, and it's a film from 1980. Here you can see the infamous drill. That was one of our top 10 kills in one of our lists, unfortunately. YouTube has decided to take those down off my channel, so they will not be seen. I do have them still, and I believe Curious World still has those. He was the editor on those videos. So if anybody would be interested, if I have I do have a lot of new subscribers, and maybe you didn't get a chance to see our top 10 kills list that we did on YouTube, just let me know and we could try to get that to you. Next one is another double bill. Is another one I haven't watched yet, and this is the Christopher Lee at his sinister best, The Blood of Fu Manchu, which is a Jess Franco film, and so is The Castle of Fu Manchu. The film The Blood of Fu Manchu is from 1968, and The Castle of Fu Manchu is from 1969. Again, these are both unrated. Little box there of special features if you want to pause ahead and check it out. Looks like you get some interviews, quite a few interviews actually. Trailers and still galleries. Next one is a Dario Argento 3-pack. If you want to kind of get these movies on a budget, I think you could probably get these 3 for about like $20 for 3 films. And I'll open this up and show you guys at the end. These all come on their own individual discs, which is pretty cool. It's, you know, it's a kind of a heavy set because there's 3 discs in there. But you get the Cat O' Nine Tails Deep Red and Inferno. Oops. I really enjoy Deep Red. From 1975. Again, Cat O' Nine Tails is 71. We went over that a little while ago. And Inferno from 1980, part of the Three Mothers trilogy. And these are all unrated. And Blue Underground put this set out in 2015. Not very many special features though. Unless they just didn't have room to list those. I can't, this is still sealed, so I can't verify that these don't have special features. It could be that they tried to cram all 3 movies on the back where they couldn't put the features. I'm not sure. So I don't want to give you guys false information if I don't know. So next one is called Dead and Buried. This was a surprisingly good film. I had this on DVD. I still do have it on DVD. And it came out as a limited edition with a pretty cool slip box. It had kind of like a foil effect to it. And it was limited, I think it was like 10,000, which is not very limited, but each piece was numbered. But I have not revisited this movie since I saw it on DVD. That's why this is still sealed, but I have seen this movie before. It's kind of a new school zombie film. Actually, it says it's from 1981, but it had kind of a newer feel to it, like it's a newer movie. It's kind of one of those the town has a secret type movies. And this was released in 2015, and I didn't see this one in the 80s. I actually probably saw this in the early 2000s, and maybe that's why I kind of thought of it as a newer horror film. Here's a twin billing, not a twin billing, a two-disc set rather, a Blu-ray and DVD combo pack, the collector's edition they're calling that, and that is Death Dream. This is a movie I've heard mixed reviews about. I haven't popped it in yet. I did pop it in. It's opened. I put it in one night and I got like 5 minutes in and I was so tired that it had nothing to do with the movie. I wasn't bored, but I was just dog tired and ended up falling asleep, and then the next day I ended up watching something else. So that is Death Dream. If anybody wants to comment about this, please feel free. That looks pretty cool, right? Looks like he just had a little snack, had a little bit of blood around his mouth. Movie from 1974. Screenplay by Alan Ormsby, who also did Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, among others as well. But this was a movie that Blue Underground put out 2017. Producer-director Bob Clark, who did Black Christmas. And he did the family classic one too, right? With Ralphie. You'll Shoot Your Eye Out, Kid, A Christmas Story. I believe he did. And there's a featurette on here called Tom Savini, The Early Years, so that's very cool. Also known as Dead of the Night, it says. So let's move on. I'm going to take another quick drink and then we will continue on with Deathline. Deathline, starring Donald Pleasance and Christopher Lee, two heavy hitters in the horror genre. And this is a Blu-ray DVD combo pack, collector's edition they're calling it. This is one that I have seen, but it's been a long, long time. Definitely due for a rewatch. And Blue Underground put this out in 2017. It's a film from 1972. So there's a trailer for Raw Meat, trailer for Deathline. It says, beneath modern London lives a tribe of once humans. So you kind of know what you're getting into with this kind of a movie. Deathline from 1972. Here's a film we talked about just a little while ago, Profondo Rosso, Deep Red, Dario Argento classic from 75. I like that cover. It's kind of simple, but it's still effective in my opinion. I love the way that looks. That little, I mean, there's a lot going on here. You got the doll with the noose around her neck, holding a bloody cleaver with a zombie in the background. Looks like he's, his shadow is in the moonlight, and he's got cobwebs coming off his head. So just in that little scene there's a whole lot going on. If you guys haven't had a chance to watch this, I'm sure most of you have who are watching this channel, but if you haven't, check it out. It's definitely worth a watch. I would say it's worth a buy. It's definitely worth a buy. Add that in your collection. Here is Tomas Milian in Django Kill, If You Live, Shoot. And the Italians were always very famous for their long titles like that. Django Kill, If You Live, Shoot. And there's a lot of different titles like that they had over the years, which I think is pretty clever. You know, I like it. So you don't get too many extras. hold on a second, I had a little itch. But it looks like you get interviews with Tomas Milian and Ray Lovelock. Ray Lovelock was a kind of a cult actor, and he played in some of the horror movies in the late 70s, early 80s. I believe he played in The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue and others as well. And I believe Lovelock passed away at kind of an early age, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I don't want to be giving false information. That's just something, it seems like I remember that he passed away. I'll have to double check that after I record this, but I'm sure one of you guys out there will correct me or confirm. Here is the man himself, Franco Nero, as the original Django. I believe this was from 1967 or 68. 66. So I was off on that one. But this is the unrated edition of Django. And what can you say about a movie like this? It's a classic spaghetti western. I would put it right up there with any of the movies in the Dollars trilogy with Clint Eastwood. Franco Nero was born to play Django. In my opinion, he's definitely the best. That's not taking anything away from Jamie Foxx or any of the other actors who played Django over the years. I just prefer Franco Nero. It's my own preference. Next one is another Dick Maas film. We just saw him earlier in Amsterdam. He directed that one as well. This is called Down. This is a Blu-ray DVD collector's edition. And I don't remember which one came first, but he directed Down, and then he directed The Lift, which we'll get to here in a second. One of them is a remake of the other, and I think we'll be able to figure that out just by looking at the release. So Down came out in 2001, so this must be the remake of his earlier The Lift, which we'll get to here in a minute. Starring Naomi Watts in there. That's a pretty cool cover. You can see the anguish. Again, it's a simple cover, but you can just, it tells a story just by looking at that. The panic and the anguish of just trying to escape. Back to some more of the post-apocalyptic fun. These movies are very fun, in my opinion. Again, another Enzo G. Castellari film. And this is Escape from the Bronx, part of the Bronx Warriors trilogy. This is a Blu-ray DVD combo, calling it a collector's edition. It would have been nice if some of these had slips, but this was put up in 2015 by Blue Underground. So here is another Jess Franco, kind of a sleaze type film, and I say it in a very respectful way. I don't know how else to really describe these movies. This one stars Christopher Lee there on the left, and that is a very good likeness of him. So whoever drew this, I'll look on the back and see if we can find out who the artist was, but that is a beautiful image of Christopher Lee. It looks just like him. And this is Eugenie, a 3-disc set. And I don't want to spend too much time looking for the artist. I always do like to give credit where it's due. I just don't like to take up too much time looking for it. It's music by Bruno Nicolai. It doesn't really say who did the artwork on there. But this is a film from 1969, and Blue Underground put it out 5 years ago already, 2015. I am recording this in July of 2020. Here's some more sci-fi goodness. This is called The Final Countdown. It has quite an excellent cast here with Kirk Douglas, Martin Sheen, and James Ferrantino, who James Ferrantino passed away, I believe. I'm not sure if Kirk Douglas, either one of those two just passed away recently, Douglas or Sheen. I always get those two mixed up. They both come from acting dynasties. Again, I'll have to look, or the throbbing brain out there can let me know. You guys can let me know. It's possible all three of those gentlemen are passed away. I think Sheen might still be alive. I think maybe Douglas just passed. But again, I'll have to double check that. This is a movie from 1980, and Blue Underground released it in 2008. Kind of like a Twilight Zone. They kind of get lost. It's one of those kind of stories where they, during a nuclear war, nuclear power aircraft carried on a Pacific liner in the Pacific Ocean, and a electrical storm engulfs the ship. And I think it knocks out all their power and all that stuff, and they have to navigate without using any devices, if I remember right. Here is a Ralph Bakshi animated movie, and this is excellent. If you love adventure type movies, sword and sandal, sorcerers and warriors, and monsters and dragons, then you'll love this movie. I really enjoy this one. Comes with a really nice slipcover. It's kind of a foil type cover. Has that Ralph Bakshi animation to it. So you know, if you watched any of these movies here, Fritz the Cat, Wizards, Lord of the Rings, Fire and Ice, which this one is, they all have their very distinct Ralph Bakshi touch to it. It's I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, because I love Bakshi, but his animation style is almost crude. It's almost primitive, but it's a very charming style that he has, and it's perfect for these type of films. Here's another spaghetti western with Tony Anthony. This is another 2-disc edition here called Get Mean. There he's got one of those fancy 4-barrel shotguns, I guess you want to call it. It says, hung by his heels, barbecued, shot with a cannon. Now it's his turn to get mean. This is a pretty nice edition here. From 2015 it was released. Looks like you get some pretty decent extras. You get an interview with the star, Tony Anthony. That's always cool. You never really know how long these guys are going to be alive. You know, they're getting much older now. This was a film from the 60s. So it's good to have that archived footage that you can view and just kind of keep his name alive. And next one is called God Told Me To. There have been other releases of this where they have the word kill underneath it, and people think that's the actual title, but it's actually God Told Me To. That's the whole title. It's not God Told Me to Kill. This is a Larry Cohen film. Larry Cohen, another director who has his own definite style, and he always has a gritty New York feel to his movies, which I really enjoy. This one has a interview with the star Tony LoBianco, which is another excellent feature. And this is a movie I recommend. If you haven't watched it, definitely check that out. Next one is a very inexpensive double billing. This is Hell of the Living Dead and Rats. And I think you can get this for under $10, and it's definitely worth it, because both of these movies are decent, but they look really good on Blu-ray. I like Hell of the Living Dead a little bit better than Rats, but I do enjoy Rats too. And many of you probably already know the story about Rats, where they used actual dogs to, what kind of dogs were they? Like little chihuahuas or something. And they did a no-no during the filming of this movie where a dog actually passed away in one of the rat suits. I think it suffocated or overheated or something. And they got in a lot of trouble for that. That was back, Bruno Mattei, that was back in the 80s, 83. And back then, they didn't have a lot of animal rights on the film sets like they do today. But even back then, those guys got in a lot of trouble. They got fined heavily. So, I can't remember. I think they're both on one disc. Yeah, they are. But you have the chapter stops. You get both of the movies on one disc. This is a fun little disc to get for very cheap. The next one is The House by the Cemetery, another Fulci classic and another sweet cover. Another one of those covers that says a lot just for, this is actually even like a half of a photo because the other half is the font for the title. But just looking at that photo, you can see a lot. It would have been cool if they could have did something with the eyes of the killer. Just put kind of like a little red slits or something, just to kind of see that there is evil behind that. You know, I mean, it's already evil, but it would have just kind of put the punctuation mark on that. Film from 1981. This was really gory for the time, but I think, you know, it's a little more tame in today's standards, I think. And that was the original one disc release. Like I said, I think this was from 2011. And then they released this beautiful 3-disc set here with the lenticular cover of the same movie. And this was just released last year in 2019. This is the 3-disc set. You get 2 Blu-rays and the CD soundtrack, plus you get a collectible booklet. And this is one of my favorite editions in my collection. Check that out, man. That is just, if you don't have this one yet, definitely try to grab a copy of it. Another Argento movie, and we talked about this one earlier when we went through the 3-pack. So I do have all 3 of these on standalone editions and the 3-pack. And it is Inferno, part of the Three Mothers trilogy. We talked about that already. I'm just going to keep moving on with this one. I enjoy the movie. I think it's okay. Here's another Jess Franco 3-disc limited edition. This is Justine. Look at that likeness for Jack Palance in the lower right hand corner there. That is beautiful. And then up here in the upper left hand corner you have Klaus Kinski. That is amazing. And this is another 3-disc set, so you do get this one is a Blu-ray, DVD, and a CD soundtrack. And we will go through this one at the very end. Actually, this is going to probably be a pretty long video. Maybe I'll do that in a separate video and show my 3-disc and 2-disc sets. Here is a killer thriller collection, 3-disc set with Baba Yaga, Night Train Murders, and Strip Nude for Your Killer. So Baba Yaga from 1973. You also get a documentary on there. Night Train Murders from 1975. You get some interviews. And Strip Nude for Your Killer, 1975. All unrated. And here is Dick Maas's The Lift. This is the original one, and we just looked at Down earlier, which was the remake of this one. This movie came out in 1983. So he did the remake with Down, and they had a bigger budget and better special effects and all that. More modern filming. Here is The Living Dead at the Manchester Morgue, which Synapse will be doing, releasing a beautiful steelbook for this. And they're actually taking pre-orders for it already. So, and this is a very good and underrated zombie film. And you don't really hear too many people talk about this one. Every once in a while somebody will bring it up, but I'm sure everybody's going to say it's their favorite movie now that Synapse is releasing it. That's usually how it goes here in the YouTube community, but what are you going to do, you know? Next one is called Love Camp 7. This is a 2-disc limited edition. Comes with the original and uncensored version. I don't really know a lot about this one because I don't remember seeing it. It's open, so I probably did watch it, but I don't remember. Usually I don't open my movies unless till I watch them, because I have such a large to watch pile, and it doesn't make any sense to open a whole bunch of stuff up if you're not going to watch it right away. Just my opinion, but it doesn't have very much going on for extras of Nazi exploitation. Here is the Fulci Collection 3-pack. You get City of the Living Dead, The House by the Cemetery, and The New York Ripper. So again, you can get all 3 films on a budget. And if you don't have a lot of space on your shelves, you can get all 3 movies on one little Amaray case. Here is a Western called Man, Pride, and Vengeance with Django Comes Death. Klaus Kinski is the bad guy again, and he always played a really good bad guy. But you have Franco Nero, who is one of my favorite genre actors. Nero and Klaus Kinski, you can't go wrong. Directed by Luigi Bazzoni. Hey, I'm directing a movie over here. Here is a 3-disc set. I wish this would have came with the lenticular cover of Manhattan Baby, Fulci. A lot of extras, a lot. You can pause that, but you do get a Blu-ray, a DVD, and a bonus CD soundtrack. Fabio Frizzi. Movie from 1982. One of my favorite gritty New York City slasher serial killer movies. This is Joe Spinell in Maniac. Special effects by Savini in his early days. Starring also Caroline Munro. William Lustig film. Everybody knows this one. This is the unrated edition. Very brutal, very bloody. Tom Savini has a very nasty kill. One of my favorites of all time. And then I got the Maniac 3-disc set with a 4K restoration, has that lenticular. And this one also does come with a CD soundtrack. I just watched this one again recently on the next edition. Here was the 4K Ultra HD edition of Maniac, and it looked really, really good. I mean, I don't understand how this could look any better than it does now, or why you would need it to. But I mean, even a film like this, going back to I watched this on VHS in my younger days, and even then on VHS, you kind of get that flickering, and you get a little bit of, from time to time, the scenes weren't as clean as they needed to be, but it almost added charm to the movie, if you know what I'm saying. Now when you get a movie like this and it's so polished and squeaky clean, it almost kind of takes away from some of the aura of the film, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I'm going to pause it for a second and get a drink, and we're going to continue. So moving on, Blue Underground never did have the rights to Maniac Cop, which would be cool if they could get it someday to complete this trilogy. But they do have Maniac Cop 2. This is the Blu-ray DVD Collector's Edition. Comes with the slipcover. And I really love these movies. They're very fun. They're popcorn type movies. check your brain at the door, grab a big bowl of popcorn and a soda or beer, whatever you drink. Water. I'm drinking water tonight in this white cup. Maniac Cop 3, Badge of Silence. It's a bad movie, but it's so bad it's good in my opinion. This is the unrated version. Blu-ray DVD combo. Comes with the slipcover again. There's some extras there. You get a making of, and there's the wrong arm of the law. Deleted scenes. The next one was kind of a surprise to me. The cover of this movie was a little misleading to me, or at least in my opinion, it misled me anyway. I thought this was a creature feature film called The Nesting, and I was thinking this was going to be about spiders or cockroaches or something like that. You know, maybe she finds a nest in her basement or attic, whatever. But this is a ghost movie, a haunted house movie, and it was very good. I liked it. I mean, this was surprisingly good to me. This was a movie from 1980. And around that time, back in the early mid-'80s, there was a lot of ghost stories, haunted house, ghosts. This one was kind of under the radar, and I don't remember watching this as a kid, you know, on VHS or on TV or HBO. So I was very surprised, and I enjoyed this one. Next one is the third and final of the Castellari trilogy. This is the new Barbarians Blu-ray DVD combo pack. I'm calling it a collector's edition. And again, I wish these would have had slipcovers, because these are very worthy of a nice, you know, they already gave it a collector's edition. Could have just went one step further and put a slip on there, but what are you gonna do? Of course, starring Fred the Hammer Williamson, right there. Who was an ex-NFL player, played football. And he was a big boy. He's still with us. And he probably is still making movies, I'm not sure. Here's one of my favorite Fulci movies, another very gritty and grimy slasher film called The New York Ripper. The killer is just beyond creepy, and you guys all know the movie. He has kind of like a duck voice when he calls and taunts victims and police. And there's a lot of people that have mixed feelings about this movie. This happens to be a movie I really enjoy. So, and then they came out with this beautiful 3-disc set with that lenticular. That's just very, very nice. You can see the depth there with the killer in his hand and the blade, the bloody blade, and then you can see that she's a little bit beyond him. A 4K restoration of the film. You get a Blu-ray, DVD, and the CD soundtrack. So keep doing your thing, Blue Underground. They're doing a lot of good things with these. You know, these 3-disc sets are beautiful, but they keep releasing the same movie over and over and over. So on one hand, they're doing really good stuff. On the other hand, come on, let's get some new movies too, guys. Come on. Here's a movie that I've seen many times, but I just recently picked it up on Blu-ray, and that is The Prowler. It's another good slasher film from the 80s, 81. Kind of a revenge slasher film. Very brutal kills. Very dark and gritty, the way we like it. Killer looks cool. There he is right there. And that is it for shelf 1. Gonna take another sip here, and we're gonna continue on with shelf 2, and we are getting close to the end. All right, so I slid these down a little bit to give myself some room to work here, and the first one is called Shockwaves. This is another kind of an underrated film. Peter Cushing, John Carradine are both in this movie. There's Cush right there. Cushy. This is a movie from 1976, and it's a World War II Nazi zombie type movie. You get a bunch of extras, and there is Mr. Alan Ormsby again. And you get commentary with also Fred Olen Ray, which is really cool. And this comes with this really cool slipcover, and it's embossed on the zombie's face and is holding that boat there, and then it's also embossed on the font for Shockwaves. Next one is Michele Soavi, Stage Fright. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I'm not sure. I know some people pronounce it Michel. Some people pronounce it Michael, Michele. Either way, this is another good movie. I wouldn't say it's a great movie, but it's a very entertaining, fun watch. There's very good kills in this one. It's a good whodunit slasher film. The screenplay is by George Eastman in this movie. It was produced by Joe D'Amato, so it was a very good project for these guys here, and they put together a really good movie. There's some extras. Then you get some more Argento stuff here. You get the Stendhal Syndrome, and this is just the regular one-disc Blu-ray. You get a couple of extras there. Starring his lovely daughter, too, by the way. There. She turned out to be a very, very beautiful woman. I've heard her name pronounced a couple different ways, too. I always thought it was Asia, like the country Asia. The continent, I should say. But I've also heard people pronounce it Asia. So I watched an interview with her one time on YouTube, and they pronounced it as Asia. So if anybody wants to correct me on that, that's fine. But I'm going to keep calling her Asia until I hear otherwise. This is a movie from 1995, and Blue Underground put it in 2008. And then they released this nice 3-disc limited edition with the slipcover. And you get a Blu-ray, DVD, and a CD soundtrack. And then you get this movie was so beautiful just to see that on 4K. Oh, I don't know why this is in here. This is Synapse. So forget I even brought this up. I'm sorry, guys. The next one here is Torso, Sergio Martino film. Sergio Martino tried different genres in his movies because he did some spaghetti westerns, he did some horror. This is another one that kind of gets mixed reviews. Some people hate it, some people think it's overhyped. I happen to really enjoy this movie. I'm probably one of the people that overhype it, and maybe I ruined it for some of the other people, but this is a brutal movie. It's very wet. It's a good kind of a giallo slasher film. You do get some extras there. This is the unrated edition. And here is the one-disc edition of Two Evil Eyes, the Romero and Argento collaboration. Each of the directors had their own segment, so there are 2 short movies together in one story. 2 short stories in one movie. And this was also a fun watch. Tom Savini did some of the special effects in here. Very good stuff. I'm sure most of you had a chance to watch this by now. And then they released the 3-disc limited edition with this lenticular slipcover. Kind of like a pendulum hand there, skeleton hand, holding a gold watch. I don't know if you guys could see that with the glare on there, but it's pretty beautiful. And this is the 3-disc set. You get a Blu-ray. I think you get 2 Blu-rays actually, and then a CD soundtrack. Here is the original classic, The Toolbox Murders. This has since been remade. This is another movie. It's decent. It's not great, but it's still a fun watch. You'll have fun with this. Cameron Mitchell is in here. Who else is in here? It doesn't really list. There's Cameron Mitchell right there, though. You guys all know and recognize him. Wesley, you're from Land of the Lost, I believe. Yeah, Land of the Lost right there. Toolbox Murders. Next one is another very fun movie. This is one I should have popped on a couple days ago when it was, or last week when it was July 4th. And this is Uncle Sam, I Want You Dead. It's a silly, over-the-top horror movie with pretty interesting and fun kills. There's a lot of good kill scenes in here. The killer was pretty entertaining. And it was almost a comedy horror, but there was some really good horror aspects to this movie. It's another William Lustig film. There's some good extras here. Lustig and Larry Cohen, and they frequently collaborated together. And then you got some good fun popcorn movies like this when those guys got together. Here's one called Venom. This is a Blu-ray DVD combo pack. They're calling this a collector's edition. You get Sterling Hayden and Klaus Kinski. Susan Day is in here, and she's Susan George by now. Oliver Reed is in here, so you have a very good cast in this movie. And the original movie came out in 1981. Blue Underground put this beautiful set out in 2016. Now getting into DVDs until we get to the very last stack here. The zombie movies are Blu-ray. But these are all DVDs. Now the next little stack here. This is a rated, I believe this is rated X, Bear Behind Bars. I think they do have some very hardcore scenes that were added to this movie. So there's actual penetration, I think, if I remember correctly. Woman in Prison movie from 1980. I'm gonna keep moving. Here is Cannibal Man. I bought this one years ago. I mean, like probably, it came out in 2007. I probably bought it then when this first came out. And I bought this used on eBay a long time ago, and it had that tear in it the whole time I had it. And usually if you guys know me, I would probably correct that by now, because I could probably get this for pretty cheap. I'm not sure if this is out of print now or not, but yep, I just left it there with that little tear on it all these years. But I didn't tear it, it came like that. Next one is Michele Soavi again. This is The Church. It says Dario Argento presents a film by Michele Soavi. And this was a very dark, they're calling it Masters of Italian Terror present the most unholy horror of all. Which that's pretty bold to say that, but and I would disagree, but because there's some satanic movies that were a little bit better than this one, but this was still a fun watch. Movie from 1988. Here is Fulci's City of the Living Dead. That's a beautiful cover. Would not mind having that as a poster. Here's another Fulci film that recently, within the past year, has been upgraded to Blu-ray by Code Red, I believe, or Scorpion Releasing, one of those two. I think it was Code Red. But this is it's not very good. It's one of those movies where it's so bad, it's good. I mean, there's some pretty hilarious scenes in here, but Fulci tried his hand at a sword and sandal or sword and sorcerer type film, and there was some very entertaining moments of this movie from 1983. But I'm glad he didn't try to stay with this genre. He was much better in the horror world, but this was still a fun watch. Conquest. Here's that Dead and Buried I was telling you guys about earlier. I thought it was an Anchor Bay release because Blue Underground and Anchor Bay were the same company at one time, and Blue Underground kind of broke off and went their own way, so I wasn't sure if this was one or the other, but it is a Blue Underground. And again, there's the number. I believe this was limited to 10,000, but I can't say for sure. I got number 4214. And this is the same movie as this one that I showed earlier. It's just, this is the Blu-ray. That's the DVD. This one has some pretty cool stuff in it though. Comes in this digipack. It's a pretty good slipcover, but you can see as much as you try to keep the slipcover looking pristine, try to take good care of it, it's just paper, and eventually paper will disintegrate. So you get little nicks and dings and dog-eared corners, but the digipack is very glossy. It's got a little booklet in there. I'm not going to go through all of that stuff. This is already a pretty long video, but there's a couple of discs. So I'm going to pause it, put that back together, and we're going to continue on. Okay, the next one is another Fulci movie. This movie's okay. It's not great. It's not bad. It's somewhere middle of the road. This is Don't Torture a Duckling. Tomas Milian is in this movie. That's a pretty creepy cover there, though. It says here at the bottom it's one of Fulci's best films. It's not, but and that was a quote by Argento. It says it's a superb giallo. It's a good giallo. It's not superb, and it's not one of Fulci's best. That's just my opinion, me talking on my channel here. But here is Maurizio Merli in Mannaja, A Man Called Blade. This is another good spaghetti western movie. I watched this one years and years ago. And this one came out in 2004 by Blue Underground, but it's a film from 1977. And Merli did a lot of 70s kind of like cop movies, Polizio Tesci type movies, and he did some spaghetti western movies. He was kind of a genre actor in the 70s. And then we have Shockwaves again. I upgraded that to Blu-ray. Don't have to really talk too much about that. Here is Two Evil Eyes again. This was a limited edition. This one's numbered, I think 25,000. I got 17,107. It's a heavy set. It has, they each come on their own disc. There's a chapter card on the inside. Then you get this limited availability. They're calling this the Zombie Soldiers Twofer. You get 2 movies for one low price. I had both of these already. I just got this for like a little collector's piece because I like the way that banner looked on there. Blue Underground logo. You know, it says limited at the top. And you get Death Dream and Uncle Sam, which I have both of those on Blu-ray now. So that's just going to stay sealed as a collector piece. And the next one here is called a Spaghetti Western Collection box set. And in this set, it's called The Good, the Bad, and the Violent. And you get the original Django. You get Run Man Run, starring Tomas Milian. You get Django Kill, If You Live Shoot, also starring Tomas Milian. And you get Mannaja, A Man Called Blade, starring Maurizio Merli, all excellent Italian actors. And then they all come on their own Amory case and discs. So that's a really cool box set. I think that's out of print now. Pretty sure it is. Well, I think pretty much everything that's DVD now is out of print, but here is Zombie. This movie goes by so many different titles. And then we have the 3-disc limited edition. There's 3 different covers. You get the Splinter Eye. You guys all have seen these, so I don't have to spend too much time on them. But I do love these covers. They're very, very cool. Next one is the zombies walking across the bridge in New York City. Doesn't really do anything. It just kind of shows depth. This one's called Worm Eye. You can see the worm's kind of moving around, and he's blinking his other eye. This was the 2-disc Ultimate Edition Blu-ray. And finally, we have the 4K Ultra HD, which looked really, really good. So that was my collection. I'll do a quick panning. I think instead of showing my 3-disc sets, since this video is so long, I'm just going to call this an end to the video. And I again want to encourage you guys to please check that link down below, because I'm going to link Johnnie Walker's Blue Underground video, and you can go over and show him support on that video and subscribe to his channel and welcome him to the community. He's fairly new. He's been putting out a lot of videos, so there's definitely a lot of material for you guys to go and view on his channel. You won't be bored or disappointed. So, and he's a great guy. If you comment on his videos, he will definitely respond. So that's just how he is. He's a nice guy that way. So, all right, guys, we're gonna close the video out here. Thank you for joining me. I always appreciate that. The easiest way for you guys to support my channel is to give me a thumbs up, because of the YouTube algorithms. The more thumbs up you get, they consider that interaction on your channel, and they are more likely to suggest your video to other viewers, and that would help my channel grow. So if you guys could, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, you could always subscribe if you like what you saw. And you can share the video if you want to. And leave a comment. It's always good to hear from you guys. So until the next video, I will catch you guys later, and take care.